Hi, this lecture is all about variations versus adaptations. As we learn in class, variations are really just differences among a population. So it might be that there's different sizes of a type of animal, or they have a different size of teeth, or different length of claws, or different length of hair, or different hair color, or different eye color. Those are all just variations that exist among a population. An adaptation, on the other hand, is any trait that helps an organism to survive. So this might be having sharp teeth to help you catch prey, or having a color that helps you blend in, like a shark is dark on top and light on the bottom, to help it blend in both from a top view and from a bottom view. And these adaptations, what helps you survive in your environment, is different for different environments. So a polar bear needs different adaptations than a brown bear or black bear because they live in different environments. Some variations might help an organism to survive, and it's still a variation until over time, generations and generations, where these variations that maybe make it more likely to survive, so maybe the organism doesn't stand out as much to a predator, so they're not getting eaten as much. Well, they're going to keep passing that variation, that gene, on to offspring, and it'll keep getting passed on and on, and eventually the whole population will have that variation. And once that's the case, once the entire population has that trait that helps it survive, then it's called an adaptation. So basically, adaptations are products of natural selection, and natural selection it's selecting these variations that help them survive. So we've got pictures down here. Two of these pictures are showing adaptations, and one of these pictures is showing variations. That brings me to the first question shown here. Which picture shows variation? Choose A, B, or C. It's important to realize that adaptations, especially really complex adaptations like the eyeball or human eyeball or eyeball of many animals, it doesn't just happen. There's not just one big mutation that causes that we all of a sudden have an eyeball that sees color and sees perfectly. This takes a really long time to see this complex adaptation evolve. And scientists study these complex adaptations by looking at really simple organisms and keep getting more complex and more complex and more complex, and they compare these structures here. And they have realized that the eyeball started as basically just a group of light-sensitive cells, and that's what we see here. And over many, many generations, eventually a lens started to evolve, and that lens allowed the organism to see an image. It was a blurry image, but again, after more and more generations, eventually that eye got even more refined, the image became clear, and around the same time as that, they think you probably started to get color vision in organisms. So this is just an example of how a complex structure like an eyeball takes a really long time to evolve, and it goes through many phases where it gets more complex and more complex and more complex, more refined, more perfected. Okay, the last main idea for today is that we can really think of organisms as kind of big jumbles of adaptations, right? We're big bundles of adaptations. We are full of traits that help us survive. And this is not working. And so we've classified these adaptations into three categories to help us understand them. The first kind of adaptation is called a structural adaptation. The first type of adaptation is a structural adaptation. Structural adaptations involve the body structure, the body shape, the anatomy. So maybe the shape and size of the beak, that's adapted to what kind of food the bird eats. The foot shape and size adapted to how the animal moves. Does it swim? If so, it needs a webbed foot. Does it grab onto a branch? If so, it needs toes. Also, tooth shape. What kind of food do you eat? Things that eat plants have flat teeth. Things that eat meat have sharp teeth. The second type of adaptation is a physiological adaptation, and physiology refers to the job or the function. And so these really deal with what proteins, what enzymes do you have. Snake venom is a type of physiological adaptation. Behavioral adaptations deal with how the organism behaves.